Hello there! In this video we are going to work on snow bases, and I also show you how to spice them up a bit. This is the basing scheme for my Legions of Nagash army, which already has roughly 100 skeletons in it, so it's definitely doable in larger quantities as well. Let's get to it! There's a ton of snow products in the hobby market, but I haven't found any single solution to be perfect out of the box so far. Some kind of additional liquid or adhesive is often required for dry products, but there are also ready-made snow pastes available. Admittedly, I haven't tried everything, so please recommend your favorite snow products in the comment section below. Since no single snow product I had was great on its own, I experimented with a couple of mixes and ended up with one that works really well for me. So here's what I used. Citadel Snow. Unfortunately, no longer produced very fine fiber-like flock. Army Painter Battlefield Snow, a bit coarse microballoon based material. Baking soda, a very fine powder. Your normal PVA glue and white acrylic ink. I used a disposable shot glass to mix the components. I added a small amount of PVA in the cup and poured about as much pre-mixed snow powder in. The dried snow products themselves were also mixed in equal parts. Finally, I dropped in just enough white acrylic ink to get to a toothpaste-like consistency. If you add too much, like I did, just dump in more of the dry stuff or PVA. The less snow product you have in the mix, the smoother the end result will be after drying, and likewise, the more you add, the coarser snow you'll get. Different grain sizes of the actual snow products together create a varied texture to the surface of the snow. PVA glue brings volume and thickness to the snow and acts as a binding agent. Acrylic ink will both color the mix even more white and add fluidity for easier application. Alternatively, you could just use white paint and water, but the idea is to have some white pigment in the mix because the PVA glue and baking powder alone will yellow over time. Next, we are going to need a base to apply the snow on. Here I have a very typical base with some cork and plastic stones. For snow bases I prefer to have at least something three-dimensional on the base to peek through the snow and add visual interest, although for variety's sake I also have some with just flat snow field on them. For most of these bases I leave part of the ground and rock showing, because a plain field of snow isn't very striking. I guess I'm imagining a frozen wasteland where the merciless wind deposits the snow unevenly against rocks. So that's why I quickly paint the base in cold, stony and earthy colors. A bit of wet blending and dry brushing will do the trick. We'll apply a wash later on. With the weird whitening toothpaste ready, I started to dab it on with an old brush. Grab a dollop and start pushing it around. If you want thicker snow, don't be afraid to add more. The PVA will help to keep it together and should allow to build up these thicker snow banks as well. The snow will shrink slightly as it dries, but barely noticeably. In the side-by-side view, you can see one base with a big rock on it and a smaller skeleton one with a grass tuft. Wintry tufts are great for adding little points of interest to some of your bases, and it's really easy to make them part of the scene, as we'll soon see. When you have the main areas of snow placed, wipe most of the snow off your brush and start stippling at the edges to make them more irregular. You can also smoothen the transition at places with just a little bit of moisture on the brush. Overall, a key to somewhat natural looking bases is real randomness, so whenever you are trying to fake nature, avoid symmetry at all costs and embrace the chaos. Getting back to the tufts, a great way to integrate them better with the overall scene is to lightly brush over them. Little snow particles get stuck in the grass and the tops get a nice white coloring, enhancing that cold and frosty feel. You have a lot of freedom to decide how much and where you want to apply your snow, but I would advise against the spotty approach. At least to me it looks very strange if you have evenly spaced and sized spots of snow here and there. A few larger areas of clear ground and snow will look more natural, but in the end it's up to you. The snow takes easily more than an hour to dry, depending on the thickness. You can speed up the process significantly by using a hairdryer. As a finishing touch, I sprinkled a small amount of the dry snow mix on the still wet base. This isn't a necessary step, especially for your armies, but can give a nicer finish to the end product. In a hurry, this is where you could call the base done, but we are not finished yet. I want to add more atmosphere. If you imagine an undead horde marching across the endless frozen wastes, what colors would you associate that with? It's at least white and blue, isn't it? Because, well, snow is white and ice is blue. Of course, ice is really translucent, but that's usually the association, right? So, easy. Since we already have white, just by adding some blue tones I can introduce extra coldness to the base. To do that, I prepared 3 very thin blue washes. I don't want to make the bases blue, just to have blue shading where needed. Drakenhof Nightshade is desaturated dark blue, while Sapphire and blue from Secret Weapon have a brighter shade. Those two especially need to be thinned down a lot. There's no magic to the application of the wash. Just cover the base in a mix of all 3 washes all around. Be random. If you have big rocks or something like that on your base, you can use the full strength Drakenhof Nightshade to build darker shading around and on them. When you're done, let the wash dry. That hairdryer comes in handy again. Note this. The PVA is water soluble, so it's likely that a very liberal wash usage at this point will reactivate some of it. But unless you're applying a lot of pressure, it shouldn't be a problem. If you notice the snow getting soft and mushy, just let it dry again. Some white ink might also come off and mix with the wash, but that's almost beneficial at this point. The longer you let the initial snow to dry, the less likely it is to have any issues like this. Depending on your preference, you might like your bases with more or less blue. In my case, I wanted to bring somewhat of pure white back, and for that I used regular white paint, both bottle strength and as a paper thin glaze. I overbrushed and stippled some strong white on the raised surfaces and finalized things with the white glaze all over the snow parts. If the glaze is too strong, you'll end up evening out the blue-white contrast too much. But hey, you can keep working on it until you are happy with the result. The white glaze also doubles as a cool frost effect on the ground and rocks, helping to tie everything together. This specific process is not the definitive answer to creating nice looking snow bases. There are many other, likely easier ways to get to a similar result, but I hope this video gives you some ideas how to approach this topic no matter what products you use. You don't need the exact stuff I had. To me, the added visual interest the extra shading brings is absolutely worth the effort, but of course you might think otherwise. In any case, snow bases are not difficult to create in their simplest form, and being fairly neutral colored, they can work really well with many color schemes. Red on a bluish white would look awesome, for example. And fresh blood on the snow? Oh my. And that's pretty much it. Let's see how it looks after painting the base rim black. If you liked the video, let me know by pressing that like button or commenting, and subscribe for more videos in the future. I know, I've been just a bit inconsistent with the video making. There is only so many hours in a day and I love painting and computer games too. However, now that Cursed City is on the horizon, I've been thinking of starting more regular series on painting those minis in my own style. So something between speed painting and display quality, I guess. I have a feeling that videos like that will be in high demand when the game comes out, so I'm seriously considering it. But for now, thank you for watching and try to stay warm in the cold reality of early 2021.